The acrid smell of burning paper filled the marble kitchen, and Amara Okafor watched in frozen horror as the flames consumed the only proof of her legal existence in America. Her Nigerian passport, the document she'd guarded more carefully than her own life, curled and blackened in the crystal ashtray, destroyed by the perfectly manicured hand of a 22-year-old who'd never known a single day of struggle. "Oops," Sienna Romano said, her lips curving into a smile that didn't reach her cold blue eyes. "I guess you're illegal now. Should I call immigration, or will you finally learn your place?" The entire household staff stood paralyzed in the doorway. Rosa, the head housekeeper. Marco, the driver. Even Antonio, the head of security, looked uncertain about how to handle the boss's daughter having just committed a federal crime against a woman under their employer's protection. Amara's hands trembled as she stared at the ashes of her passport, her green card application still pending, her entire future now reduced to smoke and malice. Her 7-year-old daughter Zara was at school, counting on her mother to pick her up in 3 hours. Her mother back in Lagos was counting on the money Amara sent home every month to pay for her medication. And now this spoiled child, because that's what Sienna was, despite her age and designer clothes and expensive education, had destroyed everything with the casual cruelty of someone who'd never faced consequences in her entire privileged life. "Mr. Romano is going to hear about this," Rosa said, her voice shaking with barely controlled fury. "Oh, I'm sure he will." Sienna examined her nails, bored already. "And I'm sure he'll take the word of the help over his only daughter. That's definitely how this family works." But there was something in her voice, a thread of uncertainty, maybe even fear, that suggested Sienna wasn't as confident as she pretended to be. The sound of the front door opening echoed through the mansion, followed by footsteps that made everyone in the kitchen straighten instinctively, heavy, measured, purposeful steps that announced the arrival of someone who commanded absolute authority without ever raising his voice. Dante Romano had come home early. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Sienna's face went pale, all her bravado evaporating like morning mist. She grabbed the ashtray, trying to hide it behind her back, but the smell of burning paper had already permeated every corner of the kitchen. "Papa," she said, her voice suddenly small and childlike, "I didn't expect you home until—" "What's burning?" Dante's voice cut through her stammering. He appeared in the doorway, and Amara felt her breath catch despite everything. Dante Romano was 52 years old, with silver threading through his dark hair and lines around his dark eyes that spoke of decades making impossible decisions. He wore a charcoal suit that fit like it had been painted on, and he moved with the controlled grace of a man who'd survived multiple assassination attempts and emerged stronger each time. He was handsome in a dangerous way, like a blade that could cut you even as you admired its craftsmanship. His eyes swept the kitchen, taking in the frozen staff, his daughter's guilty expression, and finally landing on Amara, standing in the center of the room with tears streaming down her dark cheeks and ash staining her trembling fingers. "Sienna." His voice hadn't risen, but everyone in the room felt the temperature drop. "What did you burn?" "Nothing, Papa. It was just some old papers." "Show me." It wasn't a request. Sienna's hand shook as she brought the ashtray forward. Dante took it, examining the remains with the careful attention he gave to everything. Amara watched his jaw tighten, saw something flicker in his eyes that made her instinctively step backward. "Whose passport?" he asked quietly. The silence was suffocating. "Sienna." "Whose passport?" Sienna's voice cracked. "She was being disrespectful. She talked back to me, and I found her stupid passport in her bag in the staff room, and I just wanted to teach her a lesson about—" "Get out." Sienna blinked. What? Get out of this kitchen. Go to your room. Do not leave it. Do not call anyone. Do not touch anything. Just go. Papa, you're overreacting. Now. The single word echoed like a gunshot. Sienna fled, her designer heels clicking frantically against the marble as she ran. When the sound faded, Dante turned to the assembled staff. Everyone except Amara, leave us. They scattered like leaves in a storm. Even Antonio, who'd stood beside Dante through gang wars and federal investigations, didn't argue. When they were alone, Dante set the ashtray on the counter with careful precision. Then he turned to face Amara fully, and she saw something in his expression she'd never seen in the 6 months she'd worked in his home. Genuine fury, barely leashed, and all the more terrifying for its control. Tell me exactly what happened, he said. Every detail. Amara Okafor had arrived at the Romano mansion on a gray February morning with everything she owned in 2 suitcases and her daughter's hand clutched tight in hers. The job posting had been specific. Live-in housekeeper for a private household, excellent pay, housing provided, must be comfortable with strict household rules and confidentiality agreements. The interview had been conducted by Rosa Martinez, who'd looked at Amara's resume, her nursing degree from Lagos, her 3 years of home health care experience in the U.S., her impeccable references, and asked one question. Why are you willing to be a maid when you're trained as a nurse? Amara had looked at Zara, sitting quietly in the corner with her coloring book, and told the truth. Because nurses' wages in New York don't cover rent and daycare and immigration lawyers. Because my visa is expiring and I need a job with housing while my green card application processes. Because I will do whatever it takes to keep my daughter safe and fed. Rosa had smiled, the kind of smile that suggested she understood survival better than most. You'll fit in here. The Romano mansion was in the wealthy enclave of Alpine, New Jersey, a 15,000-square-foot monument to power and money that somehow managed to feel cold despite its opulence. Amara and Zara were given a suite in the staff wing, 2 rooms with their own bathroom, more space than the studio apartment they'd been sharing with 2 other families in the Bronx. Mr. Romano travels extensively for business, Rosa explained, showing Amara the routines. When he's home, he values privacy and efficiency. His daughter Sienna lives here full-time. She's particular about how things are done. The warning in Rosa's voice had been clear, but Amara had dismissed it. She'd dealt with difficult patients, demanding families, bureaucratic immigration systems. How hard could one spoiled rich girl be? Very hard, as it turned out. Sienna Romano was 22 years old, beautiful in the way of people who'd never had to develop personality to compensate for looks, and possessed the casual cruelty of someone who'd been insulated from consequences her entire life. Her mother had died when she was 12, cancer, according to the staff, and Dante had raised her alone, or more accurately, had paid a succession of nannies and private schools to raise her while he built his empire. The result was a young woman who viewed everyone except her father as disposable. Within a week, Amara understood why the Romano household had such high staff turnover. Sienna complained about everything. The way Amara folded towels, the temperature of her bathwater, the fact that Amara's accent was hard to understand, despite Amara's English being perfectly clear. She left messes deliberately, spilled makeup, discarded clothes, half-eaten food, and then berated Amara for not cleaning them fast enough. But Amara needed this job desperately, so she kept her head down, did her work, and taught Zara to be invisible when Sienna was around. She might have managed to avoid direct confrontation indefinitely if Dante Romano hadn't come home early one Tuesday afternoon and found Zara in the library. Amara had been cleaning the downstairs bathrooms when she heard her daughter's bright voice echoing through the marble hallways. Her blood turned to ice. She'd left Zara in their suite with strict instructions to stay there and watch cartoons quietly. The 7-year-old must have gotten bored and gone exploring. Amara ran toward the library, her heart in her throat, already composing apologies for her daughter's intrusion into Mr. Romano's private space. She found Zara sitting cross-legged on the Persian rug, surrounded by books, chattering away to a man who was supposed to be in Chicago for business meetings. And then the princess saves herself with math, Zara was explaining, showing him her favorite picture book. Because she's smart, not just pretty. Mama says pretty fades, but smart lasts forever. Dante Romano, the man whose name made hardened criminals nervous, was sitting on the floor beside a 7-year-old in a frozen t-shirt, examining her book with apparent interest. "Your mama is very wise," he said, and his voice was different from how Amara had heard him speak to his associates on the phone, warmer, almost gentle. "Mr. Romano," Amara burst out, rushing forward. "I'm so sorry. Zara, come here right now. I told you to stay in our room. Mr. Romano doesn't want to be bothered." "She's not bothering me." Dante looked up, and Amara felt pinned by those dark eyes. Zara was just explaining the plot of her book. Apparently, the princess uses geometry to escape from a tower. "Geometry and leverage," Zara corrected seriously. "It's very educational." Despite her panic, Amara felt a smile tug at her lips. Her daughter had inherited her intelligence, and unfortunately, her tendency to speak her mind. "I apologize for the intrusion, sir," Amara said, reaching for Zara's hand. "It won't happen again." "You're Amara." It wasn't a question. Somehow Dante knew her name, though they'd never been formally introduced. "Rosa speaks highly of your work." "Thank you, sir." "And this must be the daughter she mentioned, the one who wants to be an aerospace engineer when she grows up." Zara lit up. "You know about me?" "I know about everyone who lives in my home," Dante said simply. His eyes moved between Zara and Amara, assessing in a way that made Amara's skin prickle with awareness. "How old are you, Zara?" 7 3/4. The 3/4 is important because I'm almost 8. "Of course." Was that amusement in his voice? "And you like mathematics?" "I love it. Numbers don't lie or change. They're always the same, which makes them safe." Something flickered across Dante's face. Surprise? Recognition? Maybe respect? That's a very mature observation. "Mama says I'm an old soul." Zara looked up at Amara with complete trust and adoration. "She's the smartest person I know. She was a nurse in Nigeria, but here she has to clean houses because America makes it hard for people from Africa to be nurses, which is stupid because sick people are sick people everywhere." "Zara," Amara said sharply, mortified, "that's not appropriate." "But it's true," Zara insisted. "You said so yourself." Dante stood, and Amara was struck again by his presence, not just his height or his obvious power, but something deeper. An intensity that suggested he missed nothing and forgot even less. "Your daughter is right," he said quietly. "The immigration system is unnecessarily cruel to qualified professionals. How long have you been waiting for your green card?" Amara hesitated. This was her employer, technically, though Rosa handled all the day-to-day management. Was this a test? A trap? 18 months, sir," she said finally. "The lawyers say it could be another year or more." "That's ridiculous." He pulled out his phone, typing something quickly. "My attorneys handle immigration cases. I'll have them contact you." Amara's breath caught. "Sir, I can't afford—" "I'm not asking you to pay." He slid his phone back into his pocket. "Consider it a benefit of employment. I value competence, Amara, and according to Rosa, you're the best housekeeper she's worked with in 20 years. I take care of people who are loyal to me." Before Amara could respond, Sienna's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "Papa, you're home!" She appeared in the library doorway, then froze when she saw the scene. Her eyes moved from her father to Amara to Zara with rapidly calculating malice. I didn't realize we were having a staff meeting in your private library. We weren't, Dante said. I was speaking with Zara about geometry. How fascinating. Sienna's tone made it clear she found it anything but. Though I'm sure they have work to do. Don't you, Amara? It was a dismissal and a challenge. Amara recognized the territorial marking, Sienna reminding her that despite Dante's momentary attention, Amara was still just the help. Of course, Miss Sienna. Amara took Zara's hand. Come on, baby, let's let Mr. Romano rest. But as she led her daughter away, she felt Dante's eyes on her back, thoughtful and assessing, and something in her chest tightened with an emotion she absolutely could not afford to feel. That night, lying in bed with Zara snoring softly beside her, Amara received an email from Dante's immigration attorneys. They'd already pulled her case file and had scheduled a meeting for the following week. The email ended with a note. Mr. Romano has authorized us to expedite your application using all available legal channels. We anticipate approval within 6 months. 6 months instead of years. Amara stared at the ceiling, trying not to cry, trying not to hope, trying not to wonder why a man like Dante Romano would care about the immigration struggles of his maid. But she couldn't stop thinking about the way he'd looked at her daughter, with genuine interest and kindness, or the way his voice had gentled when he'd said Zara's mother was wise. She was in trouble. Deep, complicated trouble that had nothing to do with visas or green cards, and everything to do with the dangerous warmth blooming in her chest whenever she thought about dark eyes and a rare smile. The confrontation with Sienna had been building for months. Every kindness Dante showed Amara, and there were many, small gestures that probably meant nothing to him, but everything to her, seemed to fuel Sienna's resentment. When he asked Amara to have coffee ready in his study at specific times, and they'd end up talking about books or Zara's school progress, Sienna would find reasons to interrupt. When he insisted Zara could use the library anytime she wanted. Sienna started leaving her things scattered around the room, forcing Amara to clean around her designer bags and expensive jewelry. The breaking point came on a humid August morning when Dante left for a week-long business trip to Miami. Amara was in her suite, carefully packing her documents in preparation for her immigration interview the following week. Her passport, her birth certificate, Zara's school records, letters of recommendation, everything the lawyers had said she'd need to prove her case for permanent residency. She'd made the mistake of leaving her bag in the staff room while she went to fold laundry. When she returned, Sienna was standing there, holding Amara's Nigerian passport with a look of disgust. "Is this even real?" Sienna asked. "Or is it one of those fake ones people buy to sneak into the country?" Amara's blood ran cold. "Miss Sienna, please put that down. That's a legal passport, and I need it for my interview." "Your interview." Sienna examined the document like it was contaminated. "You know what I think? I think you're just using my father. Playing on his sympathy with your sob story and your cute kid. Making him think you actually need help when really, you're just another immigrant trying to take advantage. Give me my passport." Amara's voice was steady despite her racing heart. "Please, Miss Sienna. That document is everything to me." "Everything?" Sienna's eyes glittered with malice. "Then maybe you'll finally understand that you don't belong here. That no matter how much my father pretends to care about you and your daughter, you're still just the maid. You're replaceable. You're nothing." She pulled a lighter from her pocket, the expensive crystal one Dante kept in his study, and before Amara could move, before she could scream, before she could do anything, Sienna flicked the flame to life and touched it to the corner of the passport. "Oops," Sienna said, dropping the burning document into the crystal ashtray. "I guess you're illegal now." That's when Rosa and the others had rushed in, drawn by Amara's cry of anguish, and that's when Dante had come home. Now, standing in the kitchen with the ashes of her passport between them, Amara met Dante's eyes and saw something that made her knees weak. Fury on her behalf, barely controlled and absolutely focused. She said I was being disrespectful, Amara heard herself say. She said I was taking advantage of your kindness. She said I was trying to... Her voice broke. She said I was replaceable, that I was nothing. Dante's expression didn't change, but his hands curled into fists at his sides. And then she burned your passport? She wanted to teach me my place. Amara looked down at her hands, at the ash staining her fingers. My green card interview is in 5 days, Mr. Romano. Without that passport, without proof of legal entry, they'll deny my application. They might even start deportation proceedings. I'll lose everything. Zara will lose everything. No. The single word was absolute. You won't. Amara looked up, confused by the certainty in his voice. Dante pulled out his phone, pressing a number without looking away from her. Michael, I need you at the house immediately. Bring the emergency documents kit and your connections at the Nigerian consulate. He listened for a moment. I don't care what meeting you're in. Drop everything. This is priority 1. He ended the call and turned his full attention back to Amara, and the intensity of his gaze made her feel seen in a way she'd never experienced before. Your interview will proceed as scheduled, he said. My attorneys will handle the passport issue with the consulate. I have connections at the immigration services. They'll be briefed on what happened, and I will personally ensure that my daughter's criminal actions don't derail your application. Mr. Romano, I can't ask you to... You're not asking. I'm telling you. He moved closer, close enough that Amara could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle that made her head spin. Amara, look at me. She did, though it took every ounce of courage she possessed. You have been nothing but competent, hardworking, and kind since you arrived in this home, Dante said quietly. You have raised a brilliant, wonderful daughter despite facing obstacles that would break most people. You have earned your place here, and you deserve your green card, and you will not be punished for my failure to teach my daughter basic human decency. Tears burned Amara's eyes. She's your daughter, your family. And you and Zara are under my protection, which makes you family too. His hand came up, hovering near her face like he wanted to touch her, but wasn't sure if he should. Do you understand? I protect what's mine. The possessiveness in his voice should have alarmed her. Instead, it made her feel safer than she had since leaving Nigeria. What about Sienna? Amara whispered. She'll never forgive this. She'll make my life here impossible. Sienna, Dante said, his voice going cold, is about to learn a very difficult lesson about consequences. Dante Romano's study was on the 3rd floor, a room that overlooked the sprawling grounds and reflected the man who occupied it. Powerful, meticulously organized, and slightly intimidating. Dark leather furniture, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves filled with volumes in multiple languages, and a massive desk that had supposedly belonged to a Sicilian don in the 1940s. Sienna sat in one of the chairs facing that desk, her earlier bravado completely evaporated. She'd been crying. Her mascara was smudged, her perfect makeup ruined. But Dante felt no sympathy, only a cold, calculated fury that he was working very hard to control. Antonio stood by the door, his presence a reminder that this was not just a family matter. This was business. Do you know what you've done? Dante asked, quietly, standing at the window with his back to his daughter. Papa, I'm sorry. I was angry and You committed a federal crime. He turned to face her. Destruction of government documents carries a penalty of up to 25 years in prison. You also violated immigration law, which could result in additional charges. If Amara wanted to press charges, you would be arrested tonight. Sienna's face went white. You wouldn't let her? You'd protect me. Why? The question hung in the air. Give me one reason why I should protect you from the consequences of deliberate cruelty. Because I'm your daughter. And that gives you the right to destroy another person's life? Dante's voice never rose, but Sienna flinched as if he'd shouted. That gives you the right to burn someone's passport out of spite? To threaten someone's ability to stay in this country? To stay with their child? She's just a maid. She is a human being. Now his voice did rise, just slightly, and Sienna shrank back. She is a mother. She is someone who has worked harder in a single day than you've worked in your entire privileged life, and you treated her like she was disposable because you were jealous. I wasn't jealous, Sienna protested weakly. You've been jealous since the day I hired her. Dante moved to his desk, pulling out a folder. Do you think I don't notice things in my own home? I've watched you sabotage her work, spread rumors among the staff, do everything in your power to make her quit. And I kept hoping you'd outgrow this childish cruelty, that you'd develop some empathy, some basic human decency. He opened the folder, revealing printed copies of text messages. These are messages between you and your friends. Shall I read some of them aloud? The African maid is getting too comfortable. Need to remind her of her place. Or this one. Papa actually asked her opinion about something today, like she matters. It's disgusting. Sienna's face cycled through shock, embarrassment, and finally anger. You've been spying on me? I protect my household. That includes monitoring threats, even when they come from inside. Dante closed the folder. Sienna, I have given you everything. The best schools, unlimited money, complete freedom. And in return, you've become someone I barely recognize. Someone who would destroy another woman's life because she felt threatened by basic human kindness. You care about her more than me? Sienna burst out, tears flowing freely now. Ever since she got here, you've been different. You talk to her. You smile at her kid. You never smiled at me like that when I was little. The accusation hit harder than Dante expected, because there was truth in it. Painful, complicated truth. You're right, he said quietly, and Sienna's eyes widened in surprise. I wasn't the father you needed after your mother died. I threw myself into work, into building this empire, and I let nannies and tutors raise you. I failed you, Sienna. I take responsibility for that. His daughter's face crumpled with a mix of vindication and pain. But, Dante continued, his voice hardening, my failures as a father don't excuse your actions as an adult. You're 22 years old. You made a choice to hurt someone deliberately, and now you're going to face the consequences. What consequences? Sienna's voice was small, frightened. Dante returned to the window, looking out at the grounds where he could see Amara walking with Zara, holding her daughter's hand, probably trying to explain why Mama seemed upset. The sight made his chest tighten with an emotion he'd been trying to ignore for months. You're going to apologize to Amara, he said. A real apology, not the half-hearted excuses you're used to giving. You're going to take full responsibility for what you did. Okay, Sienna said quickly. I can do that. I'm not finished. Dante turned back to face her. You're also going to move out of this house. I've arranged an apartment for you in the city. You'll have a monthly allowance, enough to live comfortably, but not extravagantly. And you're going to get a job. Sienna shot to her feet. A job? Papa, I don't need… Yes, you do. You need to understand what it means to work, to earn something, to have value beyond your last name and your trust fund. His expression was implacable. I've already made calls. Several of my associates have agreed to interview you. You'll work 40 hours a week, like everyone else in the world. You can't do this to me. I can, and I am. Dante's voice was soft, but final. And Sienna, if you ever, and I mean ever, speak to Amara or her daughter with anything less than complete respect, if you make any attempt to interfere with her life or her immigration case, I will cut you off completely. No apartment, no allowance, no access to the family accounts. Do you understand? Sienna was sobbing now, harsh, ugly sounds that would have moved him if he hadn't watched her burn another woman's passport with a smile on her face. You're choosing her over me, Sienna choked out. Your own daughter. I'm choosing consequences over enabling, Dante corrected. I'm choosing to finally be the parent I should have been years ago. The parent who teaches you that actions matter, that other people's lives matter, that wealth and power don't give you the right to destroy people for entertainment. He moved to the door, gesturing for Antonio to open it. You have until tomorrow morning to pack your essentials. Antonio will drive you to your new apartment. You'll apologize to Amara before you leave, and it will be sincere, or you'll wait in that apartment until you can manage sincerity. Papa, please. This conversation is over, Sienna. He walked out, leaving his daughter sobbing in the study, and felt the weight of 22 years of parenting failures crushing his chest. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Amara was sitting on a bench in the garden when Dante found her. Zara was playing on the swing set nearby, her earlier confusion forgotten in the simple joy of movement and sunshine. May I sit? Dante asked. Amara nodded, unable to trust her voice. Her hands were still shaking, the reality of what had happened sinking in with crushing weight. Michael is on his way, Dante said, settling onto the bench beside her. He's bringing an expedited passport application and has already contacted the Nigerian consulate. They've agreed to fast-track your replacement passport. It will arrive before your interview. How did you? Amara shook her head. Of course you did. You're Dante Romano. You can make anything happen. Not anything. His voice was quiet. I can't undo what Sienna did. I can't erase the fear she caused you. I can't repair the damage I did by failing to raise her properly. Amara looked at him in surprise. Dante Romano never admitted fault, never showed vulnerability. But there it was in his eyes. Genuine regret. Maybe even shame. She's hurting, Amara said softly. She's been hurting for a long time, I think. Since her mother died? Yes. Dante's jaw tightened. I handled my wife's death by drowning myself in work. I told myself I was building an empire for Sienna's future, but really, I was running from grief. And she paid the price for my cowardice. You weren't a coward. You were surviving. I was selfish. He turned to face her fully. And I let my daughter become selfish too. Spoiled, entitled, cruel. I saw it happening and did nothing because it was easier than confronting my own failures. Amara watched Zara pumping her legs on the swing, squealing with delight. What happens now? With Sienna? She's moving out. Starting tomorrow. Dante's expression was resolute. She'll have her own apartment, a job, actual responsibilities. And if she ever treats you with anything less than complete respect, she loses everything. She'll hate me even more. She'll hate herself eventually, when she realizes what she's become. He paused. And maybe, with time and distance and actual consequences, she'll grow into someone better. Someone her mother would have been proud of. They sat in silence for a moment, watching Zara play. The afternoon sun cast golden light across the garden, turning everything soft and warm despite the turmoil of the day. Why? Amara asked finally. Why are you doing all this for me? The immigration lawyers, the passport replacement, standing up to your daughter? Why? Dante was quiet for so long she thought he might not answer. Then he said, because the first time I saw you, you were reading to Zara in the staff room. You were exhausted. I could see it in your eyes. But you were using different voices for all the characters, making her laugh. And I thought, that's what love looks like. That's what I should have been for Sienna. Amara's breath caught. And then I kept noticing you, Dante continued, his voice low. The way you speak 3 languages fluently but never show off. The way you correct Zara's math homework and somehow make fractions exciting. The way you fold clothes with hospital corners because you can't stop being a nurse even when you're doing laundry. He looked at her, his dark eyes intense. You're brilliant and kind, and you work harder than anyone I've ever met. And yes, I hired lawyers to help with your green card because it's the right thing to do. But I also did it because I'm selfish. And I don't want you to leave. Amara's heart was hammering. Mr. Romano. Dante, he interrupted. Please, when we're alone, call me Dante. Dante, she said, and his name felt dangerous on her tongue. I'm your employee. You're my employer. There are lines. I know. His hand moved toward hers on the bench, not quite touching but close enough that she could feel the warmth. And I've been very careful not to cross them. But I'm telling you now, honestly, that if you weren't working for me, if we'd met any other way, I would already have asked you to dinner. I would already have told you that you're the most interesting person I've met in years. I have a 7-year-old daughter who is brilliant and funny and looks at me like I'm capable of being more than what I am. His fingers finally brushed against hers, the touch electric. Amara, I'm not asking for anything. I'm not expecting anything. I just needed you to know that what Sienna said, about you being replaceable, about you being nothing, it's the opposite of the truth. You matter. To this household, to me, you matter. Tears burned Amara's eyes. When had anyone last told her she mattered? When had anyone seen her as more than a visa application, a single mother struggling to survive, a problem to be solved? I'm scared, she admitted. Of this, of you, of what it means. I know, I'm scared too. Dante's smile was small, almost sad. I haven't felt anything real in a decade, and now there's you, and I feel everything. It's terrifying. Before Amara could respond, Zara came running over, her face flushed with exercise. Mama, Mr. Dante, can I show you how high I can swing? Of course, little one, Dante said, and the gentleness in his voice made Amara's chest ache. They spent the next hour watching Zara perform increasingly elaborate swing tricks, Dante offering encouragement and Amara offering safety warnings. It felt domestic and normal and absolutely impossible. A mafia boss and his housekeeper pretending they were just two people watching a child play. But underneath it all, Amara felt the weight of Dante's confession, the promise of something that could never be, and yet, somehow, felt inevitable. The next morning, Sienna appeared in the kitchen where Amara was preparing breakfast. She looked terrible, puffy eyes, no makeup, her usually perfect hair pulled into a messy ponytail. For the first time since Amara had met her, Sienna looked young and vulnerable. Can we talk? Sienna asked, her voice hoarse from crying. Amara glanced at Rosa, who nodded encouragingly, and took over the eggs Amara had been scrambling. They walked to the garden, to the same bench where Dante had sat with her yesterday. The morning was cool, mist still hanging over the grass. I'm sorry, Sienna said, and her voice cracked. I'm so sorry for what I did. For burning your passport, for all of it. For months of making your life hell because I was jealous and petty and... She wiped at her eyes. And because I'm terrified of being replaced. Amara waited, letting Sienna find her words. My mother was everything, Sienna continued, warm and loving and present. And when she died, my father became a ghost. He was physically here, but emotionally gone. I spent 10 years trying to get his attention, and nothing worked. And then you arrived, and suddenly he was laughing again, talking again, being human again. She looked at Amara with red-rimmed eyes. And I hated you for it, for being what I couldn't be, someone who made him remember how to feel. Sienna, Amara said softly, I'm not trying to replace your mother or take your father from you. I know that intellectually, But emotionally? Sienna shook her head. I've been stuck at 12 years old, mourning my mother and resenting everyone who reminds my father that life goes on. That's not your fault. That's mine. That's his. That's grief and therapy I never got and issues I need to work through. She reached into her pocket and pulled out an envelope. My father is forcing me to move out, to get a job, to actually grow up, and I'm angry about it. But I also know I deserve it. I burned your passport, Amara. I could have ruined your entire life. I could have gotten you deported, separated from your daughter. That's unforgivable. But I'm trying to ask for forgiveness anyway. Sienna's voice was barely a whisper. Not because I think I deserve it, but because you deserve to hear that what I did was monstrous. And I'm going to spend a long time trying to become someone better. Someone my mother would have recognized. Amara looked at this young woman, this hurt, lost girl in a grown woman's body, and felt something shift. Not forgiveness? Not yet. But maybe the beginning of understanding. Your apology doesn't erase what you did, Amara said carefully. But it's a start. And Sienna, for what it's worth, your father loves you. He's doing this because he loves you, not because he's choosing me over you. He can love us both, you mean? The words hung in the air, full of implication and possibility. I don't know what you mean, Amara said, but her cheeks heated. Yes, you do. Sienna's smile was sad, but genuine. He looks at you the way he used to look at my mother, like you're the center of his universe. And you look at him, like you're trying very hard not to fall. She stood, brushing off her jeans. I'm not saying I'm okay with it. I'm not saying this doesn't hurt. But I'm saying I'm going to try not to be an obstacle anymore. She turned to leave, then paused. And Amara? Your daughter is lucky. She has a mother who fights for her, who sacrifices for her, who loves her enough to work 3 jobs and cross an ocean and clean rich people's houses. Don't ever let anyone, including my father, make you feel like that's not enough. Then she was gone, leaving Amara sitting on the bench with tears streaming down her face and a strange, fragile hope blooming in her chest. Michael Rossi, Dante's lead attorney, arrived at noon with a briefcase full of documents and an expression of grim efficiency. He was a small, precise man in his 60s who'd worked for the Romano family for 30 years and had seen everything. Ms. Okafor? He greeted Amara in Dante's study. I've reviewed your case extensively. The passport destruction complicates matters, but it's not insurmountable. He spread documents across Dante's desk. Forms, affidavits, letters from the Nigerian consulate. I've secured an emergency travel document from your embassy. It's not a full passport, but it serves the same legal purpose for your green card interview. Your replacement passport is being expedited and should arrive within 3 weeks. Amara stared at the papers, hardly daring to believe. How did you— Mr. Romano has extensive diplomatic connections, Michael said dryly. When he says something is a priority, embassies tend to cooperate. I've also filed a report with Immigration Services explaining the circumstances of your passport's destruction. USCIS has been very understanding, particularly given Mr. Romano's personal guarantee of your character. His personal guarantee? Michael's expression softened slightly. Mr. Romano doesn't give those lightly, Ms. Okafor. In 30 years, I've seen him extend personal guarantees exactly 4 times. You're the 4th. The weight of that settled over Amara like a blanket, warm and heavy and slightly suffocating. Your interview is in 5 days, Michael continued. I'll accompany you as your attorney. Mr. Romano has also requested to attend as a character witness, if you're comfortable with that. Amara's eyes widened. He wants to come to my immigration interview? He's quite insistent. Michael allowed himself a small smile. Between you and me, Miss Okafor, I've never seen him take such personal interest in an employee's welfare. Whatever you've done, you've made quite an impression. After Michael left, Amara sat alone in the study, staring at the documents that represented her future in America. Legal papers that existed because Dante Romano had decided she mattered. She heard footsteps and looked up to find him in the doorway, still in his suit from whatever meeting he'd rushed back from. "Michael explained everything?" he asked. "Yes. Thank you doesn't seem adequate." "Then don't thank me." Dante moved into the room, closing the door behind him. "Amara, there's something you should know. About the interview." Her stomach clenched. "What?" "Immigration will likely ask about your employment, your living situation, your relationship with your employer." He moved closer. "They'll want to ensure you're not being exploited, that you're here of your own free will." "I am. I know. But they'll also want to understand why your employer is providing such extensive support. Why I'm attending the interview, paying for top attorneys, using my connections to expedite your case." Dante stopped in front of her, his expression serious. "And I need you to know that if you tell them the truth, that I've developed feelings for you, that there's something between us beyond employer and employee. It won't hurt your case. Michael has assured me of that." Amara's heart stuttered. "You're asking me to tell them?" "I'm asking you to tell the truth. Whatever that truth is." His hand came up, cupping her cheek with infinite gentleness. "Because I'm done pretending, Amara. I'm done telling myself that this is just professional courtesy or humanitarian concern. I care about you. I care about Zara. And if immigration wants to know why I'm moving heaven and earth to help you, the answer is simple. Because the thought of you leaving, of being forced back to Nigeria, of losing you, it's unbearable." "Dante," she breathed, leaning into his touch despite every logical reason not to. "You don't have to say anything now," he said quietly. "You don't have to feel the same way, but I needed you to know before the interview, so you can decide how to answer their questions. Honestly." He started to pull away, but Amara caught his hand, holding it against her cheek. "I'm terrified," she admitted. "Of immigration, of you, of how much I'm starting to need this. Need you." "I know." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "But you're the bravest person I've ever met, Amara. You left everything you knew to build a better life for your daughter. You worked jobs you were overqualified for without complaint. You faced down my daughter's cruelty with dignity. You can face this too. What if they deny my application anyway? Then we appeal. And if the appeal fails, we find another path. A different visa category. A different legal strategy." His voice was fierce. "I will not let you be deported. I will not let Zara lose her home. Do you understand? I will use every resource, every connection, every dollar I have to keep you here." "Why?" The question came out broken. "Why do you care so much?" Dante's smile was small and sad and utterly genuine. "Because for the first time in 10 years, I wake up and feel something besides emptiness. Because your daughter makes me remember what it's like to be looked at with trust instead of fear. Because you see me as a man, not just a name or a bank account or a dangerous reputation." He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "Because somewhere between folded laundry and coffee conversations and watching you love your daughter so fiercely, I fell in love with you." Amara's breath caught. "Dante." "You don't have to say it back," he said quickly. "I just needed you to know. Before the interview, before whatever comes next. You deserve to know that you're loved, Amara, that you're valued, that you're seen." And then, because she was brave and terrified and tired of running from the impossible, Amara kissed him. It was soft and tentative, a question more than an answer. But Dante responded with careful intensity, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious, something that might break if he held too tight. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Amara said, "I love you too. I've been trying not to, but I do." Dante's smile transformed his entire face, turning him from dangerous to devastating. Then we face immigration together, and whatever they ask, you tell them the truth. That you're here because you deserve to be. That you're loved. And that I will fight for you until my last breath. Amara believed him, and for the first time since burning passport ashes had settled on her shaking hands, she felt like maybe, impossibly, everything would be okay. The USCIS building in Lower Manhattan was designed to be intimidating. Sterile white walls, fluorescent lighting that made everyone look slightly ill, and the constant hum of bureaucracy grinding through thousands of desperate cases. Amara sat in the waiting room, her emergency travel document clutched in one hand and Dante's hand in the other. Michael Rossi sat on her other side, reviewing documents one final time. Across from them, a young mother bounced a crying baby, dark circles under her eyes that Amara recognized from her own early days in America. An elderly couple held hands silently, their worn clothes and calloused hands telling a story of decades of hard work. Ms. Okafor? A stern-looking woman in her 50s appeared with a clipboard. I'm Officer Martinez. Please follow me. Amara stood on shaking legs. Dante rose with her, his hand at the small of her back, supportive but not possessive. Mr. Romano, Officer Martinez said, her expression neutral. I understand you're here as a character witness? Yes. That's highly unusual. Ms. Okafor is an exceptional person in exceptional circumstances, Dante said calmly. I thought my presence might help clarify those circumstances. Officer Martinez's eyes moved between them, assessing, calculating. I see. Well, let's proceed. The interview room was small and windowless, with a table, 4 chairs, and a recording device that Officer Martinez activated with a deliberate click. Ms. Okafor, please state your full name and date of birth for the record. Amara Chidinma Okafor, March 15, 1991. And you're applying for lawful permanent residence based on employment sponsorship? Yes, ma'am. Officer Martinez opened her file and Amara saw photographs, her Nigerian nursing degree, her employment history, letters of recommendation, everything that proved she was more than just a woman desperate to stay in America. I see here that you've been working as a housekeeper for Mr. Romano for approximately 6 months. Yes, ma'am. And prior to that, you worked as a home health aide despite having nursing qualifications. Why not pursue nursing directly? Amara had rehearsed this answer, but the truth still hurt to say. My Nigerian credentials aren't automatically recognized in the United States. I would need to complete additional certification and pass the NCLEX exam, which costs money I didn't have. Home health care allowed me to use my training while supporting my daughter. Your daughter Zara, age 7. Yes, ma'am. And her father? Amara's jaw tightened. Not in our lives. He left before she was born. Officer Martinez made notes, her expression unreadable. Tell me about your current employment situation. Why did you transition from healthcare to housekeeping? This was it, the moment where everything could fall apart or fall into place. I needed housing, ma'am. The job with Mr. Romano provided living quarters, which meant I could save money instead of spending 70% of my income on rent. It also meant Zara had a safe, stable home environment while my immigration case was pending. I see. Officer Martinez turned to Dante. Mr. Romano, you employ a full household staff. Why hire Ms. Okafor specifically? Dante's voice was steady, professional. Rosa Martinez, my head housekeeper, identified her as exceptionally qualified. Ms. Okafor's attention to detail, her work ethic, and her professional background made her an ideal candidate. And the extensive legal support you've provided? The expedited passport replacement? Your personal guarantee to this office? Here. This was the moment of truth. Officer Martinez, Dante said, leaning forward slightly. I'm going to be completely honest with you because Ms. Okafor deserves honesty, and so does this process. Amara's heart hammered. I initially hired Ms. Okafor as an employee, yes, but over the past 6 months, I've come to care deeply about her and her daughter. My assistance with her immigration case started as employer support, but it's evolved into something more personal. Officer Martinez's eyebrows rose. Are you saying you're in a romantic relationship with your employee? I'm saying I'm in love with her, Dante corrected, and that I'm very aware of the power dynamics that creates, which is why I've been extremely careful. I've provided legal support because she deserves it, regardless of my feelings. But yes, my motivation has become personal as well as professional. The officer turned to Amara. Ms. Okafor, are you being coerced in any way? Is your immigration status being used to pressure you into this relationship? No, ma'am. Amara's voice was firm. Mr. Romano has been nothing but respectful. He's helped me because I needed help, not because he expected anything in return. And whatever feelings we have for each other developed naturally, over time, through conversation and... She paused, choosing her words carefully. Through him seeing me as a person, not just an employee. Officer Martinez studied them both for a long moment. Then she said, Ms. Okafor, I'm going to be frank. Your case is complicated. Your passport was destroyed, deliberately, according to the police report filed by Mr. Romano's security team. Your daughter's father is absent. You've changed careers multiple times. And now, you're romantically involved with your employer. Amara's stomach dropped. However, Officer Martinez continued, you've also maintained legal status throughout your time in the United States. You've worked continuously, paid taxes, have no criminal record. Your daughter is enrolled in school and thriving. And your employer, she glanced at Dante, has provided documentation of your employment that's frankly more thorough than anything I've seen in 15 years of doing this job. She pulled out several letters. You've also received character references from your daughter's teachers, your previous employers, members of Mr. Romano's household staff, and even from Antonio Greco, Mr. Romano's head of security, who describes you as the kind of person who makes everyone around her want to be better. Amara felt tears prick her eyes. She hadn't known about those letters. I'm going to recommend approval of your green card application, Officer Martinez said. The words didn't make sense at first. Amara just stared at her. However, the officer continued, there will be a conditional period. You'll need to check in quarterly for the first year. If your living situation changes, you must report it. And Ms. Okafor? Her voice softened slightly. Make sure whatever relationship you pursue is what you truly want, not what you feel obligated to accept because of visa concerns. You have value beyond your immigration status. Don't forget that. I won't, Amara whispered. Thank you. Outside the building, Amara stood on the steps in the bright October sunshine and tried to process what had just happened. She was going to get her green card. She was going to stay in America. Zara would have a future here. You're shaking, Dante said softly, his hand finding hers. I'm in shock, I think. She looked up at him, this powerful, dangerous man who dismantled his entire life for her. Did that really just happen? It happened. His smile was genuine, transforming his usually severe face. You're staying, Amara. You and Zara. You're staying. Michael cleared his throat diplomatically. I'll file the necessary follow-up paperwork and schedule your quarterly check-ins. Congratulations, Ms. Okafor. You've earned this. After he left, Dante turned to face her fully. There's something I need to ask you. Okay. The officer was right about power dynamics, about making sure you're choosing me, for the right reasons. He took both her hands in his. So I'm asking you plainly, do you want to stay in my home? Do you want to continue this relationship? Or would you prefer your own place, your own space? the freedom to make decisions without your immigration status tied to your employer. Amara understood what he was offering: complete freedom, even if it meant losing him. "I want to stay," she said firmly. "Not because of visa concerns or housing or money. I want to stay because when I'm with you, I feel seen. Because Zara lights up when you're around. Because you make me believe in possibilities I thought were impossible." "But," Dante prompted, hearing the hesitation in her voice. "But I don't want to be your housekeeper anymore," Amara admitted. "That dynamic, it's uncomfortable now. I can't be your girlfriend and your employee. It doesn't feel right." "Then quit," Dante said immediately. "Move into the main house, not the staff quarters. Enroll in that nursing certification program you've been researching. Let me help you become what you were trained to be. I can't just take your money. It's not taking. It's investing." His thumbs brushed across her knuckles. "Invest in your future, Amara. In your career. And yes, I'll help financially because I can and because I want to. But this isn't charity. This is me believing in you enough to bet on your success." Amara felt tears spill over. "Why are you so good to me?" "Because you deserve good things." He pulled her close and she went willingly, burying her face in his chest. "Because somewhere between coffee conversations and watching you parent your daughter with such fierce love, I realized you're what I've been missing. You're what I want to build a life around." They stood there on the courthouse steps, holding each other while the city moved around them, and Amara let herself believe, finally, that this was real. 3 months later, Amara stood in the Romano mansion, no longer a maid but a resident, a partner, something more complicated and wonderful than she had words for. She'd moved into the main house as Dante suggested, into a suite on the second floor that connected to a smaller room perfect for Zara. She'd enrolled in the nursing certification program at Columbia and was preparing for her NCLEX exam. She still helped around the house sometimes, but out of choice, not obligation. The dynamic shift had been awkward at first. Rosa had been confused, the other staff members uncertain how to treat her, but Dante had been clear. Amara was family now, not staff, and everyone adjusted accordingly. Sienna had moved into her Manhattan apartment and was working as an assistant at an art gallery, her literature degree finally put to use. She called occasionally, stilted conversations where she asked about Zara and avoided mentioning her father. But it was progress. Tonight, though, was special. Dante had invited Amara's mother from Nigeria to visit, had paid for her flight and visa, and was hosting a dinner to welcome her. Amara watched from the kitchen doorway as Dante spoke with her mother in careful, respectful Igbo. He'd been learning her language, taking lessons twice a week. Her mother's expression had been suspicious when she arrived, protective of her daughter and wary of this powerful man. But now she was smiling, laughing at something Dante said, and Amara felt her chest tighten with love. "He's good with her," Rosa said, appearing beside Amara with a tray of appetizers. "Your man knows how to charm mothers." "He's not my—" Amara stopped. Was he? They hadn't labeled it, hadn't defined what they were to each other beyond the obvious. Rosa laughed. "Child, he looks at you like you hung the moon, and you look at him the same way. Whatever you want to call it, it's love." Dinner was beautiful, a mix of Nigerian and Italian dishes that represented both their cultures. Zara dominated the conversation, telling Amara's mother all about her school and her friends, and how Dante had taken her to the Museum of Natural History to see the dinosaurs. "And he bought me 3 books about paleontology," Zara announced. "Real science books, not baby books." "She's very specific about that," Dante said, smiling. "Apparently, I made the mistake of suggesting a picture book first." "I'm 7 3/4 now," Zara said seriously. "I need chapter books." Amara's mother caught her eye across the table, her expression knowing and warm. After dinner, when Zara had been sent to bed and Dante was showing her mother the library, she pulled Amara aside. "This man loves you," her mother said in Igbo. "And he loves your daughter. I can see it." "I know, Mama. And you love him?" "Yes." Her mother cupped Amara's face. "Then I'm happy for you, my daughter. You've worked so hard, sacrificed so much. You deserve someone who sees your worth." Later that night, after her mother had retired to the guest room and the house was quiet, Amara found Dante in his study. "Thank you," she said from the doorway, "for tonight, for learning Igbo, for being so good to my mother." "She raised you," Dante said simply. "That makes her worthy of respect." He set down his book. "Come here." Amara crossed to him, and he pulled her into his lap, holding her close. They sat like that often now. Comfortable silence, just being together. "I have something for you," Dante said after a moment. "You give me too many things. This one is different." He pulled a small box from his desk drawer, and Amara's heart stopped. "Dante, it's not what you think," he said quickly. "Or it's not just what you think." He opened the box to reveal a beautiful key, old-fashioned, ornate, clearly antique. "It's the key to this house," he explained. "My grandfather gave it to my grandmother when they married. My father gave it to my mother. I gave it to my wife when Sienna was born, and she gave it back to me before she died, told me to save it for someone who truly made this house a home." He placed the key in Amara's palm. "This isn't a proposal. Not yet. We've only been together 3 months, and I know you need time. But it's a promise. That this is your home. That you belong here. That when you're ready, if you're ready, I'll give you my name, along with this key." Amara stared at the key, at this tangible symbol of belonging, and felt something break open in her chest. "I've never belonged anywhere," she whispered. "Not really. I left Nigeria because I had to. I've been temporary in America for years, always one visa denial away from losing everything. And now you're telling me I belong?" "You belong," Dante confirmed. "Here. With me. With Zara. Building whatever life we want to build together." Amara kissed him, pouring everything she couldn't say into the contact, gratitude and love and hope and terror and joy all mixed together. When they finally broke apart, she said, "Ask me." "Ask you what?" "Ask me now. I don't need more time. I know what I want." Dante's eyes widened. "Amara, ask me," she repeated. He slid off the chair, taking her with him until they were both kneeling on the expensive Persian rug. Then he pulled out another box, this one holding a ring, a stunning emerald surrounded by diamonds. "Amara Okafor," Dante said, his voice rough with emotion. "Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making you happy? Will you let me be Zara's father in every way that matters? Will you build a family with me? A real one, based on love instead of obligation?" "Yes," Amara said through tears. "Yes to all of it." He slid the ring onto her finger, a perfect fit, because of course he'd gotten her size somehow. And then he was kissing her again, and Amara was laughing and crying and feeling more alive than she'd ever felt in her life. "Mama?" They broke apart to find Zara standing in the doorway in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Why are you crying? Are you sad?" "Happy tears, baby," Amara said, holding out her arm. Zara ran over and Amara pulled her daughter close, the happiest tears. Zara looked at the ring, then at Dante. "Does this mean Dante is going to be my daddy for real?" "If you want me to be," Dante said seriously. "Only if you want that, Zara." "I want it." Zara threw her arms around his neck. "Can I call you daddy now?" "You can call me whatever you want, little one." "Daddy," Zara tested the word, then smiled. "I like it." They sat there on the study floor, An unlikely family built from ashes and visas and burned passports and impossible love. And Amara thought about Officer Martinez's warning. Make sure whatever relationship you pursue is what you truly want. This was what she wanted. All of it. The complicated, messy, beautiful reality of building a life with a man who'd seen her when she was invisible, who'd protected her when she was vulnerable, who'd chosen her over everything else. 6 months ago, she'd been a struggling immigrant watching her passport burn, her future disappearing in smoke and flame. Now she had a green card, a ring, a family, and a future that looked nothing like what she'd imagined but everything she'd hoped for. I love you, she told Dante, with Zara nestled between them. I love you both, he replied. My family, my heart, my home. And as Zara fell asleep in their arms and the city lights glittered beyond the windows, Amara knew with absolute certainty that she was finally, impossibly, exactly where she belonged. The Romano household had transformed into something loud and chaotic and wonderful. Amara, now a licensed RN working at Mount Sinai, rushed through the door after her shift to find controlled chaos in the kitchen. Dante was attempting to make dinner while Zara, now 9, explained quantum physics from her current obsession book. A toddler, their son Marcus, 15 months old, was banging pots on the floor like drums. Mama's home, Zara shrieked, abandoning physics to launch herself at Amara. How was work? Dante asked, wiping tomato sauce off his hands to kiss her properly. Long. We had 3 emergency admissions. How was your day? Daddy let me help with spreadsheets, Zara announced proudly. I'm learning about portfolio diversification. Of course you are, Amara said, laughing. Marcus toddled over, arms up, demanding attention. Amara scooped him up, inhaling his baby smell, feeling her exhaustion melt away. Sienna called, Dante said. She's coming for dinner Sunday, bringing someone she wants us to meet. Someone? Amara raised her eyebrows. A boyfriend, apparently. She sounded nervous. Their relationship with Sienna had slowly healed, therapy and time and the birth of Marcus helping bridge the gap. She was an attentive aunt now, regularly visiting, genuinely trying to be better. That's good, Amara said. Growth. That night, after the kids were in bed, Amara and Dante stood on the terrace where he'd first confessed his feelings, looking out at their kingdom. Do you ever regret it? Dante asked. The chaos? The complicated family dynamics? Marrying a man with a dangerous past? Never, Amara said firmly. Not once. She thought about the woman she'd been. Scared, struggling, watching her documents burn. She thought about the journey from there to here, from maid to wife, from desperate immigrant to secure resident, from invisible to cherished. You gave me a home, she said. Not just a house, but belonging. You gave me a future. You gave me love. You gave me the same, Dante replied, pulling her close. You taught me how to be human again, how to love, how to be more than just power and fear. We saved each other, Amara said. We did. And as they stood together under the stars, surrounded by the life they'd built from ashes and impossible odds, Amara knew this was her greatest achievement. Not her green card or her nursing license or her marriage to a powerful man, but the family she'd created, the love she'd fought for, the belonging she'd earned. She'd crossed an ocean, survived cruelty, watched her passport burn, and emerged stronger. And she'd do it all again for this, for the chaos and the love and the beautiful, complicated reality of a life built on courage and hope. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.